This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Hello and welcome into the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show. I am Alex Egan alongside Beth Hool, and we are here getting you set for FCS quarterfinal action. This feels like old hat. We've been here before, but this is a lot of fun. Down to the final 8. Well, 7 now, but down to the final 8.
Absolutely, down to 7 after a crazy game last night between James Madison and Weber State. Thought Weber State was going to pull the ultimate upset. High seeds have gone down. All last week, several went down, including numbers 3 and 4. The Bison need to be alert, need to know that teams are coming for them. And you know what? Maybe not such a bad thing to see James Madison have to really go down to the wire, win it on a field goal in order to advance into the semifinals. You know what? That's not the worst thing to witness the night before your own game.
Yeah, a walk-off field goal nonetheless. That was a pretty crazy game. Weber State was up, and then James Madison came back to tie it like a minute after Weber took the lead, and then a field goal right at the end. So let's take a look at the updated FCS playoff bracket right now, and you can see there it is. James Madison advancing through to the semifinals. South Dakota State and New Hampshire will get underway from Brookings at 2 o'clock. You can catch that game on ESPN3. New Hampshire's quarterback missed a lot of the second round game. He has been cleared. Concussion protocol he was in, but he has been cleared to play, so that throws another wrinkle in that.
Everything they have against South Dakota State, that's for sure. They've been rolling.
Absolutely, yeah. SDSU has looked pretty good in these FCS playoffs. As we take a look at the bottom side of the bracket, it is Sam Houston State and Kennesaw State. The winner of that one will get the winner of North Dakota State and Wofford. Let's go back to that Sam and Kennesaw game. That Kennesaw State team is rolling right now.
They're really, really good, but they seem prone to the turnovers, and that will cost you in the playoffs when everything comes down to the wire. I just don't like Sam Houston State, though. I have zero confidence in that program.
Yeah, they gave up. They were up 41-14 last weekend at halftime on South Dakota, nearly lost that game. South Dakota cut that lead to 2 in the fourth quarter.
And
then
gave up
Sam
21 unanswered points. You can't do that in the playoffs.
No, that's definitely not the formula for winning. And then NDSU and Wofford, we will spend the next hour talking about that one.
That's right. That game on ESPN2 this week, so no need to sync up your ESPN3.
Right.
You can find that one on ESPN2. If you do not have ESPN2, though, you can still watch that on ESPN3.
We will walk you out up to kickoff at 11 a.m. at the Fargo Dome. Right now, let's go out to the Fargo Dome. Ryan Gellner standing by. Ryan, how's it going?
Hey guys, good morning and welcome inside the Fargo Dome. It is a football Saturday and an early Saturday for North Dakota State, but the Bison, they've played in this before. Of course, the last couple of playoff rounds has been an 11 a.m. Saturday morning for them, so nothing new for the Bison. For Wofford, they got to Fargo yesterday about 1:45. They came right to the Fargo Dome for a 45-minute walkthrough, then back to the team hotel. They arrived this morning at about 8:45. Wofford has not played inside a dome since 2012 when they were here in the Fargo Dome. This year for the Terriers, they're good when it is close, guys. They are 7-1 in games decided in one possession. 7 points or less. Wofford wins those football games 7-1 this year. This game, though, as you both know and we'll talk about in the next hour, it will be decided on the ground. Wofford is 7th in the nation in running the football. North Dakota State is 7th in the nation in stopping the run. Let's look at the flip side of that. North Dakota State is 5th in the nation in running the football. Wofford ranks 17th against the run. Whichever football team, guys, today runs the football, you would think would have the most success. Again, this week we have this thing covered from all over the place, not only down here on the field, but upstairs as fans start to pile into the Fargo Dome. The doors are now open. We go up to the lobby where Lee Timmerman and Brian Sean are standing by. Hi, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Ryan. Brian Sean, Lee Timmerman here in the lobby of the Fargo Dome. Kickoff less than an hour away between Wofford and North Dakota State. And LT, this is a matchup I think we're both looking forward to seeing. Two teams that play very distinct, different styles than what we're used to seeing in the Valley, especially on defense with Wofford going a straight 3-down look.
Yeah, it's something that NDSU just doesn't have to deal with much. I was talking with Coach Hedberg earlier this week, and he said, yeah, what they call zero nose, which is basically just the nose guard head up with the center. It's that way all of the time, and with 3 down linemen. We see 3 down linemen in the Valley, but they're moving around all the time, so that's one adjustment that the offense will have to make. The other one, too, is that Wofford almost plays exclusively zone in terms of its defensive backfield, so it's either going to be one high or quarters, like 4 straight across, so that's something that's a little bit different. Not a lot of man-to-man, but there are some things through the air that if the Bison can establish the ground game, I think they can get to.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the atmosphere a little bit. I think the crowd, they were juiced up for the playoffs last week. We saw that. The Bison jumped out quickly. You get the feeling that if NDSU can do the same thing here today and get the fans involved right away, that can make things really difficult on a Wofford team that, frankly, it's important for them from timing purposes to get off the ball at the same time on offense.
Well, it certainly is. Crowd noise is always one of the main advantages you have when you're the home team. But another thing just to think about, too, I know now it's, it's 11 a.m. start Central Wofford. It's, so much earlier because it's, they're used to the Eastern time zone. So, yeah, that's one thing they have to get going. But it was interesting. I was talking to a couple of people from Wofford this morning at the hotel that I stayed at. That's where the team was. And it was interesting because even a couple of dads of Wofford players said, y'all know that we're going to need a few breaks today. So even from their standpoint, they know that they're the underdog heading into this game. So that I thought was a little bit of an interesting perspective just coming from some of the Wofford dads.
Should be a fun one. We have a lot more to go coming up here on the pregame show. We'll be back in the lobby in just a little bit. We'll throw it back to Beth and Alex in the studio, guys.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Apologize for a little bit of that technical hiccup there. The excitement is affecting our signal apparently out at the Fargo Dome.
Yeah, some news we do need to talk about today, though. NDSU announcing last night about 5 p.m. That they have another suspension. Derek Tusker, a senior, Jared Tusker, sorry, yes. A senior defensive end with the Bison, violation of team rules. I think it's very important not to speculate, not to talk about things that it potentially could be what you think it is. We have no idea. There is no word from the team, nothing official, no confirmation. It's a violation of team rules, but it is worth noting that this is the 5th disciplinary action taken in the playoffs.
Absolutely. That's what I think is most concerning, is that there are now 5 players that have come under disciplinary action from Bison head coach Chris Kleiman. Of course, Dallas Freeman last week was suspended for the San Diego game. This week it is Jared Tusker suspended for this Wofford game, and then 3 players were dismissed from the team altogether. So that's a little bit of a concern, I think, for Bison fans.
It's just something we haven't dealt with.
Right.
And teams all over the country deal with this kind of stuff week in and week out. NDSU football hasn't dealt with this in a long time. So in that regard, it is worth discussing and it is newsworthy. But other than that, I think it's worth not speculating.
Absolutely. We don't want to go any further than what it is. It's a violation of team rules. He's out for this game. So that is what it is. Jared Tusker, senior defensive end, will not be playing against Wofford. Now, let's go into something a little bit more lighthearted. Last week, I don't know if you saw it, we put something up on the it's at VNL Sports.
Yeah, a lot of you did see it. A lot of you really liked it. The players getting their mojo going.
They're growing some playoff mustaches is what the look is. And so Easton Stick, he's babyface anyways. Let's be honest here. But look at that. Looking like he's ready to join the law academy, right? Like he's ready to join the law enforcement academy. He's getting his mustache in there. The facial hair is coming in. He said he was working on growing something. He was giving his best effort, and it looks like he's got something.
You know what? Last week he had something, a little bit of a shadow. You might have wondered if it was some Oreo dust. Yeah. But this week, we can confirm that is not mascara nor paint. That is real.
That is Easton. That is all Easton.
Congratulations, young man.
Officer Easton Stick. That's what he was.
Can't quite compete with Nate Tangway yet, but
not quite. Which I heard.
So we
had he's got a new.
Yes, he said he would be updating. These are the important things, you guys. This is what really matters.
Never mind talking about Wofford's triple option, their 3-4 defense. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
No big deal.
That's the fun stuff. Easton is working on.
I'm excited for him. That's huge. That's a confidence booster.
It is a confidence booster. It's fun too.
So I hear.
So we're gonna step aside. When we come back, we will actually dive into this football game. It is the quarterfinal round, NDSU and Wofford. More to come here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Really, you just gotta make sure you're not getting too anticipated in the run. I mean, if you start coming up too much, they're gonna throw a one-on-one on our corners, and we don't want to leave them alone.
Bison safety Robbie Grimsley there talking about how the defense needs to attack this Wofford triple option. We'll get more into the Wofford triple option as we go along through the show here today. What will be important is that the Bison defense has everyone available to them, and we will check in on that as well. First, let's go back out to the Fargo Dome. Ryan Gellner standing by with Dr. Bruce Pyatt for our Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Injury Report.
All right, thank you guys. Welcome back down to the field this morning. We have Mark Hauser from the Wofford IMG Radio Network with us. And Mark, let's first explain to fans what this triple option is and what it is that Wofford football does. I love the triple option. I think it is some of the purest football you'll see. The way Wofford runs it, what do?
Well, it's a shell game, and the defense has to figure out where the football is first and foremost. Wofford will run out of something that's called the wing bone, where you'll have two halfbacks and a fullback with the quarterback under center, and they'll run triple option out of that, or they'll run out of what they call a double deuce formation, where the quarterback's out of the gun, usually with two backs behind him, and then you run triple out of that. You fake a give to one, you run the pitch phase of the option with the other guy. It is fun to watch. As a play-by-play guy, you always have to stay about a second behind because you're never quite sure who has the ball, and of course, that's what you want out of the defense.
It is an offense that'll go 2 yards, 40 yards. Often you can get big plays. Sometimes you'll just take 2 and 3 yards because that's what it's designed for, but you'll take those big plays as well.
Sure. If you're gaining 3 to 4 yards, you're on schedule. That's the way our coaches like to put it. And then more often with the pass than with the run, you can go over the top. You get those corners and safeties to cheat up a little bit in run support. Maybe you go over the top and burn somebody.
No doubt about it. If Wofford holds the football today, they feel like they can have some success. You want the football in your hands.
Yes. If time of possession favors the Terriers, 31, 32, 33 minutes, then, yeah, I think Wofford will be in the game. Last time we were in this facility, Wofford outgained North Dakota State, but turned the ball over a couple of times. I think ball security is going to be huge today.
Mark, you will beat the Bison today if?
Wofford forces a couple of turnovers, plays a clean game, and is able to pressure Easton Stick to the point where he gets a little uncomfortable in the pocket. That's a heavy lift, but that's what I think would have to happen.
And you're in trouble if?
Wofford turns the ball over, or North Dakota State runs for better than 180 yards.
All right, there are the challenges for North Dakota State and for Wofford. More from the Fargo Dome in just a little bit. Right now, back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Ryan. We'll get to injuries, I guess, next segment. I need more coffee, apparently. It's early.
It's an early morning.
It's 10:15 in the morning. I'm not used to being up and doing stuff at this
TV,
time.
folks.
Yeah, live television, huh? Let's talk about this Wofford triple option attack, and it really gets started with their quarterback and then what they call a fullback. He's a running back, their leading rusher, and that is Andre Stoddard. We take a look at his numbers here for you, and they're not jump off the page numbers, right? But look at that average of carry. 4.7. If you're getting that every clip, you're going to take that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess I'm impressed by Andre Stoddard, absolutely, but I'm more impressed by how many different people they can hand it to. The fact that they have a couple of different quarterbacks that they use, that I'm cutting up highlights of this video. You saw all of that. You saw everybody making an impact. They have a dynamic run game, absolutely. It all comes down to, though, them matching up against defensive lines that I don't think have anything against the Bison. I don't think that they have faced people who are as strong, as physical, and as athletic as the North Dakota State defensive line.
We show you how Andre Stoddard gets it done, and it's this triple option attack, you know, and it isn't just Stoddard, like you said, Beth. There are a couple guys that get the football, but this kid, he's a tank. He kind of reminds me of the JMU running back we saw last year. Just low center of gravity, can get going, and once he gets downhill, it's going to be tough to bring him down.
Well, and that's a staple for their entire offense, really, is to stay low, and that's where they're going to want to attack the Bison defense, is to get low and control that level of play. Now, you're absolutely right, though. Watching him, the one thing, that first clip especially, you watch him drag people. He is a big boy. and he can definitely get those yards after contact, which is where you can really hurt a team.
5'10", 230 is what he's listed at, and I don't know that 230 is. I think that's a generous 230, to be honest. On the low side, I think he's probably pushing 240, and he gets moving.
But look at those tackles. I'm just not impressed.
Arm tackles are not going to bring down Andre Stoddard. He's got 807 yards. They've got another kid, Lennox McAfee, that has 747 rushing yards. He's also a good receiving threat. They've got Blake Morgan, one of their top receivers, number 11. You'll see him used in the passing game. He's got over 500 yards rushing as well. So they truly do use 3 options every play. It's a very interesting look, one that Bison fans and Bison defenses hasn't seen. I know Matt Entz is probably...
yeah, the big joke is, has he gotten any sleep this week? But you know what gives me confidence in that? Well, Matt Entz is a phenomenal defensive coordinator, and he alone is great at game planning and all of that, working with all of his assistants. But more than that, you've got Chris Kleiman there, who admitted on Monday that he probably spends a little bit more time than he should focusing just on the defense this week, but it's because he enjoys the challenge. He's a defensive coordinator himself. He's the one who was coordinating in 2012 when NDSU and Wofford played back then. So he enjoys this challenge. He's spending their time as well. You've got a lot of people working together on this, a lot of great defensive minds looking to stop these guys.
Absolutely. The defensive staff not getting a ton of sleep. Some other people that weren't getting a ton of sleep are the Bison fans that made it out there like 5 a.m. this morning. They were out in the Dome parking lot. Kudos to them. I'm not sure I could have been out there
along
at 5
with
a.m.
Mike Morgan and Dave Erickson.
Mike Morgan out there with our Tailgate Trivia. Mike?
All right, thanks so much. With the heat, it's very warm and welcome here in this tailgate section, and I've got a couple of contestants. Let's start out with you and your first name.
Bonnie.
Bonnie. You ready to play?
Yep.
Here's how we do it. I'm going to ask you a question. If you answer it correctly, you will win one of 2 gift cards, either from Pubs, Lucky 13, or the True Blue Social Club. Are you ready? Yep. Here we go. First question. The longest football game of the year for the Bison was Mississippi Valley State, 3 hours and 12 minutes. The shortest game was Illinois State. How long did that game last? Was it 2 hours and 46 minutes or 2 hours and 59 minutes?
2 hours and 46 minutes?
She says 2 hours and 46 minutes. Is she correct, do you think?
Yes.
She is correct. Yes. Were you sure on that one? Yeah, sure enough, though. You win a $50 gift card to Lucky's 13 Pub.
Thank you.
Very well done, Bonnie. Very well done.
Okay, I'll take an easier question, please.
An easier question, please. Who leads the NDSU Bison in the number of pass receptions so far this year? Is it Darius Shepard, or is it R.J. Urzendowski? And you can get help from the crowd here.
R.J. Urzendowski.
Did anyone say Darius Shepard?
Yes, we all did.
I love him too.
Okay, so what's your final answer?
For receiving yards or receptions?
No, number of pass receptions.
Receptions. R.J.
I don't think you want that answer.
Darius Shepard.
Darius Shepard. Here it is. R.J. Urzendowski has 32 receptions. Darius has 33.
But the game's not over yet. Today could be the day.
Well, she wins. You do win.
Okay, awesome.
She won.
I won.
You gotta love it, right? Yeah. So you win a $50 gift card to the True Blue Social Club. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, crowd. Go Bison!
Thank you very much, Mike. You'll get there eventually. More to come here on the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show. Welcome back inside our Fargo studios as we get you set for North Dakota State and Wofford. Let's go out to the Fargo Dome and catch you up on the injury report with Ryan Gellner and Dr. Bruce Pyatt.
The Fargo Dome guys, Dr. Bruce Pyatt is here for our Sanford Health Update. And Dr. Pyatt, I want to talk a little bit about injuries that happen within the joint and how important it is that a doctor is on the scene right away. And what I'm talking about is joint injuries happen and then swelling happens. How important is it that you get to the injury before the swelling starts?
Well, whenever somebody's injured, there's going to be a natural response that the body has. And part of that is really important, obviously, for the healing that needs to occur and to help the body as it recovers. But it can really make our job difficult because part of that response is the swelling that occurs. And initially, when you see them on the field, none of that reaction has occurred yet. So we get a really kind of prime time kind of look at the joint at that point when they're not protecting it with muscle spasms and things because of the inflammatory response or the tightness that occurs with the swelling. So often that initial exam is our best exam that we can get.
The next day, the next couple of days, that athlete then goes to the doctor. It's swelled up. How difficult is that for the doctor?
Well, then sometimes it's impossible. If the athlete is very painful, which the swelling often causes because it puts a lot of pressure on the nerve endings around the joint, they may not want to move it. They may not want to allow us to get a good exam with them nice and relaxed. So we may not be able to get any real good exam at that point. You know, I hear it a lot of times. Patients will come to see me and they'll say that, oh, they didn't do an x-ray or they didn't do an MRI because I had too much swelling. Well, that's not true. Really, the swelling in those situations often can help us because it gives us some kind of contrast material in there. But our physical exam, which is still the most important thing, is very difficult once the swelling sets in.
And then just real quickly, the athletic trainer to the doctor, how much are those related and how much will those two talk?
That's a relationship that we build over time. You know, if I don't know the individual, for them to call me and tell me what they have, I'm trusting in their, just in their educational process. Whereas like here, with my relationship with Bobby calls me and says, hey, I got this kid, I think he tore his ACL and he's probably got a lateral meniscus tear. I'm pretty sure that's what it's gonna be, and I can feel very, very, very confident in him because I've had the experience with him.
Yeah, you don't find much better than the guys working the sideline for the Bison game. We hope we don't need you today, but we thank you for your time, and we'll see you again next week.
I'm good with that. Hopefully we are.
Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Ryan, and thank you to Dr. Pyatt. Here is the injury report for today, kind of similar to last week. We added one. Jalen Allison suffered a concussion in the game against San Diego last week, but he has cleared concussion protocol, and he is expected to be in the lineup today. That's a big news for the Bison defense.
That's fantastic news. You really want to make sure that every level of this defense is locked down, because really what happens in an option offense is every level of that defense, from the line to the linebackers to the safeties to the cornerbacks, each have their own individual job and are each challenged really individually. So the numbers and the experience are vital when it comes to stopping this offensive attack.
And Jalen Allison, a great open field tackler, and that's what they're going to need today. Let's go to the opposite side of the ball. We'll take a look at both of these teams' offenses with our North Dakota Beef Commission quarterback comparison. We will start by taking a look at Easton Stick, and Stick has had himself a pretty good season. Almost 2,000 pass yards, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's also pretty good at the rushing game as well. He's accounted for 30 total touchdowns this year. That's really impressive.
Yeah, he's had an outstanding year. We talked about it last week a little bit. He's said how, he's never felt better. Great to see him continuing to excel. I think this is a great opportunity for him. We saw how tough it is to play against Wofford in 2012. You had Brock Jensen at quarterback, FCS most winningest quarterback, certainly a strong offense, but I'm interested to see if Easton Stick, with those few wrinkles that we've seen this year that kind of open up the passing game a little bit more, if they're going to be able to put up more points. Last time it was a 14-7 game. I think Easton Stick in this offense can get a few more points on this Wofford defense.
And he played a fantastic game against San Diego, with the exception of a few passes there towards the end of the first half that I think he would want back. But Easton Stick playing really, really well right now for the Bison football team. On the other side of the ball, it is Brandon Goodson, the quarterback for Wofford, and you don't see, look at those numbers. He just has 1,000 yards. They don't pass the ball that much. When they do, they're pretty efficient with it. But he doesn't have a ton of rushing yards. I mean, he's only accounted for 6 total touchdowns.
He doesn't rush the ball, or he doesn't pass the ball nearly as much, but he passes the ball way more than other option offenses. And I think that's what stands out most to me about this Wofford option. They call it the wishbone.
The wing bone.
The wing bone.
Wing bone,
The wing
yeah.
bone. Thank you. But, it's got a few different wrinkles in it. And when most option offenses pass the ball or run the ball maybe 90% of the time, this offense is going to run the ball probably 80% of the time. It's not a huge difference, but it does force this Bison defense to be a little bit more honest.
Yeah, they have to stay honest. They have to respect the fact that he can throw the football, and he has made teams pay in the past. If you want to crowd the line of scrimmage, he will go up over the top on you. So we got a chance to catch up with some former Bison players. Ryan Gellner caught up with a former Bison who was a national champion in 2011, but the year before they played Wofford.
Reliving the history of these national championships has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
He got the chance to talk to Austin Richards this week.
Our Road to Frisco series, Once a Bison, Always a Bison, is sponsored by Proceed, and joining us now is Austin Richard, former offensive lineman, 2011 national champion here at North Dakota State. Let's start there, and maybe even before there, that 2010 season. You beat Kansas, you sneak into the playoffs, go on this remarkable run that ends at Eastern Washington, and then fast forward to 11. You beat Minnesota, you move on, roll through the playoffs, win the first ever national championship. I think it's so impressive because everything was new for you guys.
You know, it was kind of a shock that 2010 season just getting in. We were all kind of, after the last game, we had lost and just like, oh, well, we'll get them next year kind of thing. Then we got in and it's like, well, let's just start rolling, and we did.
You beat Minnesota, which was hugely important for the Minnesota kids and this program as a whole. Maybe the biggest win this program has ever had. And then you win this guy later on that season. What was a bigger deal for you?
For me, definitely the trophy here. I'm sure some of those guys from Minnesota would maybe say they were equally. I don't know. I can't speak for them. But for me, growing up as a Bison fan and being from North Dakota, was definitely the national championships. Seeing all those Division IIs championships up there, it was a great honor to be a part of the team that won the first Division I championship.
Yeah, and you think about that first one where, I mean, Frisco was new and didn't know what to expect there. And now, because it has been such a phenomenal run, and I want to ask you about that, because it's been such a phenomenal run, that first one to me, pretty special. Let's talk about that run, though. Did you foresee the next 5-6 years?
I got questions pretty much every year. You think we got a shot? You think we got a shot? I'd say every year we got a chance, but you got to understand how many other teams are out there and how many things got to go right for that, which I was so thankful for the first year we won, and I knew we'd always have a chance. What was it, 5 in a row? I mean, it was unprecedented. Just proud of those guys staying hungry. And
this and the ones that came after this, how important is that to you in your life right now?
It's a big deal to me. I mean, I'm very proud that I was part of that team and contributed the way I did. Proud of those guys afterwards. It's a big point of pride, I think, for the state of North Dakota and North Dakota State fans.
It's been 6 years since you've played football here for the Bison. What are you doing now?
I worked for a few years at a psychiatric treatment center for kids. Enjoyed my time there, but right now I'm actually back in school getting an associate's degree in information technology.
How do you apply success on the football field to success in life?
I think a lot of the lessons I learned on the football field and throughout my career playing football helped me apply those to some of the struggles the kids were having when I was working there. And for me in general, just, you know, overcoming adversity is always a really strong theme in football. You know, when things go bad, you keep driving through. And
well said. Austin Richard, once a Bison?
Always a Bison.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Hi, good morning, and welcome back inside the Fargo Dome. Ryan Gellner along with Lee Timmerman, Brian Sean, and Bison fans starting to pour in behind us for this one as North Dakota State gets set to take on Wofford in the quarterfinal round of the FCS playoffs on the road to Frisco, Texas. We start, as always, with our keys to this football game, what we think is important as North Dakota State looks to make it back to a national championship game. And the first one is called Adjust Your Speed. The option, Brian, is hard to defend. Practice doesn't necessarily make perfect. You can only do so much in practice if you're North Dakota State. They've ran against what they think this offense is, but they haven't adjusted to the speed quite yet. The only way to adjust to the speed is play the football game. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't be surprised if things don't go the way Bison fans might expect them to go right away. NDSU can adjust to that speed.
Yeah, and I think the fortunate part of that is at this point, just hold your gap, keep your eye disciplined, and stay disciplined in where you're supposed to be in the fit, and then adjust as things go along. And it's going to, I think, probably take the longest for the linebackers and the safeties, especially like Grimsley, that have to come in and fill the alley, because they could have up to 3 keys to read depending on whatever formation they see, and they have to get to those quickly. So playing fast in this game initially might be a little bit slower out of the gate than what we're used to North Dakota State playing.
You look at those stats on your screen, 70% of Wofford's total yardage is running the football, so that takes us to 3rd down, and the second key is win 3rd down, and here's why. Wofford has the ability to stay on the football field, and that is scary if you're North Dakota State. They convert 50% of 3rd downs. That's 3rd best in the country. Now the Bison ranked 5th in the country in stopping 3rd down. Lee, it might come down to 3rd down.
It will, but the number one thing before 3rd down is 1st down, really. I think that dive play, we talked about it, and you guys have talked about it too with Stoddard. He's probably the best offensive player that Wofford has. So if you can control that fullback dive, you set yourself up for 3rd down. I tell you, if Wofford has 3rd down and 3 or 3rd down and 4 all day long, the Bison defense is going to be on the field quite a bit. But yeah, it's not a secret what they do, but trying to stop it is a lot more difficult. And I think the whole key to stopping, in my opinion anyways, you got to keep the linebackers free, and especially Nick DeLuca. If you can keep the tackles off of the middle linebacker, I think the Bison are going to be fine today.
Our 3rd key for North Dakota State to come out on top of this football game might be the Bison scoring fast, or at least scoring when they have the football early in this football game. Points are obviously important in any football game, but with Wofford, who can control the clock, this might be uber important for North Dakota State. If NDSU can get to a lead, Brian, it sounds obvious, but if they can get to a lead, advantage big time NDSU. Points might be at a premium today.
Yeah, they could be. You know, and for North Dakota State, I think they're going to have some opportunities to take some shots in this game, especially on the early downs. If they can get into 2nd and 3, that's where you go hard play action and maybe take a shot downfield to the tight ends. Or what Lee Timmerman had mentioned earlier is, if they're playing that quarters coverage, the outside throw to Urzendowski should be there all day. But, you know, you talk about 1st down, the importance it is on offense. For Wofford, it's equally as important for North Dakota State. If they can get to 2nd and 5 or less, they're going to be able to move the chains and get pretty creative and get pretty exotic with some of the things they can show. The one thing I'm looking forward to seeing today is the outside run with Ty Brooks. I think there are going to be some runs there to be had for NDSU.
Yeah, North Dakota State, Lee, without a doubt, they want to run the football. What else might we see from the Bison today?
Well, just to follow up on what Brian was talking about, that C-gap power I think is the play today, and it might be quarterback run a little bit into that as well. But one thing with Wofford I think is interesting is that as many games as they've played and as many games as they've won to get here, they're really not bothered by playing in close games, because I think 8 of their games have been 7 points or less, and they've won 7 of those games. So I think that part is real interesting. But I think the Bison do have some things through the air that could happen. But as Brian stated, you want to establish the ground game first. If the Bison can do that, play action will be there.
It's going to be fun today. NDSU has been on this stage before. They've played at 11 o'clock in the morning. And now you can start to see the end picture, and you can't overestimate that at all. You've got to play this game, but now the end is in sight. You play well, you're going to have a shot.
And you know you're going to be home again next week against another team that you got to feel has to come from the south up here to the cold. But I think the game with James Madison last night probably helped, because it showed that anybody can go down, and you have to come up and play well every week, and that's the key.
And how hard it is to repeat this thing.
Well, the interesting thing, yeah, it is hard to repeat, but I think in the Bison side of the bracket that Wofford's the best team that's still left in it. And I know, again, you have to win this one to play next one, but that's just my opinion. That's the way. We'll see how it plays out.
More from the Fargo Dome as we get closer to kickoff between North Dakota State and Wofford. We're back after this. The Bison are 60-15 all-time in the playoffs. Today they go again. That opens this week's Herdline News. North Dakota State clashed with Wofford, as you remember, back in 2012. Heck, we've talked about that football game. But that was the game where linebacker Grant Olson had 29 tackles. And speaking of outstanding linebackers for North Dakota State, Nick DeLuca is just that. And senior Nick DeLuca has accepted his invitation to play and participate in the 2018 Reese's Senior Bowl. DeLuca is a 6'3", 245-pound linebacker from Omaha. He has 58 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 8 tackles for loss this season. The Senior Bowl, of course, is the premier event for college seniors, giving them the opportunity to showcase their talents before the NFL draft. Now, the Bison have a lot of work to do before the NFL draft comes, like make their way through the playoffs. Nick DeLuca and the other Bison linebackers will be busy today trying to stop this Wofford offense. I had a chance to catch up with the Bison head coach outside the locker room to talk about just that. Chris, probably a pretty unique week for you guys in that you had to get ready for something you don't see all that often in the triple option.
That was a quick week. Obviously, not a lot of sleep and a lot of tape being poured over. And they're a true triple option team. They're going to be under center. They're also going to do it out of the shotgun. But it doesn't matter if you're under center or gun. You got to be able to defend all three phases: the dive, the quarterback, and the pitch. And the unique thing is the quarterback's actually a really good thrower. So you can't fall asleep if you're a back end guy or a corner to think you're going to run it 9 out of 10 plays, because that other 10th play could be the big one.
I know we'll talk about speed in a second, but you can't get ready for this without putting a lot on your scout team. I want to ask how the kids that'll probably never get recognized in the public, how they did this week to get your football team ready.
Yeah, they did a great job. Our coaches did a great job of teaching them the offense, and then guys like Noah Sanders, who played quarterback for us, who ran it a little bit at Apple Valley, not to the extent of what these guys are doing, but at least gave us a really good look, and we had some backs and receivers give us good looks as fullback players as well as pitch players and stuff. It's just not the speed of it, but I think our execution was good. Now we just have to see if we can adapt to that speed.
Speaking of speed, is this a game where your linebackers have to be on core, or is it all 11 guys on defense that really need to have good games?
It's all 11. I mean, we talked about it this morning. Everybody has a job to do. It doesn't matter if you're the defensive tackle or if you're the corner. Your job's every bit as important as everybody else's. And you talk about the speed of the game. Even in 2012, people talk about Grant making a lot of plays, but it was Kyle or it was Cole running things down from behind, or Drevlo, as well as your back seven guys, so to speak, your linebackers and safeties.
Let's talk to you about your offense just for a second. Points. You obviously need points when you have the football.
Well, we need to be efficient on offense because possessions are going to be at a premium. And so defensively, we have to try to steal a few possessions with our offense, whether it's a 3-and-out or a turnover. And then offensively, we have to be really efficient. We have to be able to move the football. We're not going to score every time, but can we hold the ball for 4 or 5 minutes and get a few first downs? And then once we get in that red zone, we need to be able to capitalize with points and get touchdowns.
Chris, good luck this week.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Game time is less than 15 minutes away. The alert to game time as these fans pile into the Fargo Dome, getting ready for this one. We go back to our Fargo studios next. The Bison and the Terriers around the corner.
Just a little over 11 minutes till kickoff on our Coors Light countdown clock. The Bison and the Terriers from Wofford getting ready for FCS quarterfinal action. Let's get into a player that we think is should have a big game. That is our Bobcat heavy lifting report. We went with Nick DeLuca, and the first thing I put here was keep the defense in line. As the quarterback of the defense in that linebacker role, it's going to be very imperative that everybody is where they are and doing their job.
Yeah, we asked Nick this week how much goes into his role on the field on Saturday, especially playing against an option like this. He assured us, though, that the confidence is there when it comes to just everybody knowing their fits and being prepared. He says outside of little adjustments, his defense knows what they're doing.
And then the second thing that we put here, we don't need 29, but we need consistency. The 29 is obviously in relation to the last time the Terriers came to the Fargo Dome, and that is Grant Olson with 29 tackles in that game. That is insane amount of tackles.
Yeah, some other players might disagree with that, just saying that, Gio probably got a lot of those because he jumped on top of the pile after the fact. A lot of those were assisted tackles.
Yes.
But absolutely, you can't take anything away from him. That is an insane number. That's a season number for a lot of people. Yeah. Nick DeLuca maybe not going to get 29 tonight, but he certainly needs to get several.
We need the consistency out of him and just everybody really on Code Green to defend this triple option. It's been a nightmare to prepare for. Just like that's what Wofford wants. They want you to have a nightmare preparing for it so that when it actually hits you, you may not know what's coming. We talked with Aaron Steidel a little bit about this, defending this triple option. He gave us a really good insight about how to do this, how to defend this triple option, what he's looking for specifically as a defensive tackle. And that was very interesting.
Yeah, he taught us a lot about the option and how to defend it and just what they're looking for. Each guy has specific things that he needs to be looking for on this team or on this defensive attack. And for him, he says he usually watches the body of the center to see where somebody is going. But in a game like this, he's looking at the fullback and in particular where he's stepping. He says that he's able to still keep his eyes on that front line, but most importantly, he's looking for where that fullback is directing his step, and his focus is on where that fullback is going, and that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter if the quarterback keeps the ball. Right. It doesn't matter if he pitches it. His focus is on that fullback and what way that foot is going, and that determines where he will go.
And that's the big thing. It doesn't matter whoever has the football. Each guy has their own guy that they are accountable for, and they need to tackle that guy regardless. If it's a run play, you go and tackle that guy. You're not going to get called for it. Everybody's eligible to be tackled.
And the defensive tackles are known for having the freedom to make a few decisions on their own. They're encouraged to make a big play, to read the defense, and to maybe make some of their own adjustments out there on the field. But that's not something that they want them to do this week. It is adjustment, or it is assignment football that they need to keep their eye on.
Let's hear from Aaron Steidel when we caught up with him earlier in the week.
Main focus is just looking at the fullback each play. Half this week, I'm not even looking at the guard. I'm looking at the fullback to see what he's doing, where he's stepping. If he steps one way, I can already tell half of what the play is going to be compared to where other weeks you read the guard or the center, and you got to determine off of that what the play is going to be.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly what you were saying.
And that's what it is. It's tells, it's ticks, it's human nature. That's what they've been doing, is looking to see all of those little things that determine and those clues as to what's going to happen.
Keep your eyes right, you'll be just fine. Let's go back out to the tailgate light. Mike Morkin standing by. Mike?
All right, here we are at another fun bunch of trivia players, spectators, and everything. Yeah. All right. Let's go ladies first, okay? All right, your name, please?
Diane Smith.
Sure on the last name?
Okay. Diane Smith.
All right, here we go. Inside joke there. All right, here we go. We ready for the question? Ready. Robbie Grimsley and Jabril Cox are tied with the most tackles so far this year. 55. Which of the two players, Grimsley or Cox, leads the team in solo tackles? Is it Cox or Grimsley?
Grimsley.
What do you guys think? You say Cox?
Yeah.
Do you think she knows her stuff? Probably. Okay, then what's your answer?
Cox.
It's Cox. 30.
I owe you like something.
Okay. Jabril has 35 and Grimsley has 28. Okay. Wow. So you win as a result of her. You win a $50 gift card to the True Blue Social Club. All right.
I'm taking her.
All right, here we go. All right, you ready? What's your name?
Scotty Sattermore.
All right, Scotty, here we go. Easton Stick and Dimitri Williams teamed up for the longest pass play of the season so far this year against South Dakota. How many yards did that particular play cover? Was it 77 or 94? Crowd, any help? 77 or 94?
77.
77. Is he correct? Yeah. Yes, he is. 77 yards. Congratulations. It's a $50 gift card to the Lucky's 13 Pub.
Hey, thank you.
Nice job, players. Nice job, crowd. Let's go Bison today, right?
We wrap up the pregame show. 5.5 minutes to go before kickoff on the Coors Light countdown clock. Stay with us. More to come right now.
This is the Farmers Union Insurance Bison Football Pregame Show.
Well, let's get our final thoughts ahead of this FCS quarterfinal game. We go out to the Dome. Bichon, Ryan Gellner, and Lee Timmerman standing by. Guys?
Guys, you're not going to believe how much this place has cleared out behind us.
It's unbelievable.
It is a ghost town out here all of a sudden as we get ready for football action. The fans already inside. For me, thinking about this football game, I really want to see the triple option and how NDSU adjusts to it. Don't be surprised if it takes the Bison a couple of possessions to figure this thing out. And I really want to see what those adjustments are for NDSU's defense and if they can go from allowing yards to just purely shutting this thing down. Brian?
I think my final thoughts are outside run today. I think Ty Brooks has a big game today. I'm going to call 3 30-plus yard runs today for the sophomore from Fargo South and at least 1 touchdown. I think he's going to go over 100. I think there's going to be some plays to be had on the perimeter.
Lee Timmerman, you've been analyzing this thing all year long. Here's your chance.
Well, I think I'm going to go defense for my final thoughts. I'm going to be more specific to a position group. I think the defensive ends have the most important job today. They have to keep the tackles off the linebackers, and also when the quarterback keeps, they need to feather that out to the outside because the Bison don't want it to be a dive play game today. They have to keep the linebackers clean. I think if the defensive ends play well today, the Bison defense overall has a chance to be outstanding.
Good stuff. How about that Bison offense? I know you expect a lot from Ty Brooks. You feel like they can move it because Wofford's defense doesn't stand out on paper.
They're unique, though. I mean, they're really the only defensive front that has 3 really big guys in a 3-down look. So that's going to see some North Dakota State. They're going to have a guy on the center, over the center every game, a true nose guard. So he's essentially playing the 0 position. So it's going to be something that NDSU hasn't seen a lot of this year. So we'll see how NDSU moves those interior linemen to open up the lanes.
You either love watching the triple option or you hate watching it. For me, I love this thing.
I don't like it. I like conventional offenses, but yeah, I think the Bison will do well against it today. I really do.
Guys, we're itching to get inside. We're going to send it back to you.
All right, thank you very much, guys. 30 seconds left, Beth.
Play low and physical for this Bison defense.
I think the Bison need to use the pass to set up the run. That might be contradictory to what they normally do, using the run to set up the pass. I think if you can exploit what looked like suspect Wofford coverage to me, I think you can be successful.
Be sure and head over to ESPN2 for this one and come back tonight at 6 and 10 for your full recap, highlights, and reaction.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good one.